Central Park 5 was America's worst nightmare. A pack of black males accused of raping and beating an innocent white woman.
I'd like to state that we are now going to begin to talk about what happened on that night.
We went into Central Park on 10th Street and 5th Avenue. We walked past the pool and onto the road. Right? We made a left and walked straight, and we were at the reservoir.
Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan, and many other politicians responsible for the drug laws and sentences. They used issues like the Central Park 5 to wage a war on African American communities. They were literally waging war on me and my friends.
Madam President, we have predators on our streets that society has, in fact, in part because of its neglect, created.
And we were children. Joe Biden said that he didn't care why we had been desocialized, that we needed to be in jail and away from the rest of society. Even though as a politician, his job is to care, understand, and resolve why citizens are not behaving according to society's standards. He arrogantly professed to Congress, right before Congress, that he does not care about U.S. citizens, that he himself described as victims of society.
Because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now.
I care. It was me and my friends, my family, and my community. Nobody asked the question, why? Why are these children filled with so much anger and rage at such a young age? Some of these youth were 11 and 12 years old. Shouldn't there have been some type of therapist present to ask these children, why are you so angry? But instead, all they got were police, lawyers, correction officers, and judges to ask them questions and punish them for the answers that they gave them, whatever those answers may have been.
And it is now 9:20. We are at the 24th precinct. What I'd like to do is to ask you to start by telling me what happened in Central Park on April 19th. If I have some questions or if I don't understand, I might interrupt you. But why don't you start by telling us what happened?
The answer, in 3 words, the crack era.
I had such a music cool person.
Crack cocaine was ravishing the city. Youth were exposed to some of the most violent and dysfunctional behavior in the ghetto and adapted the behavior early as a means of survival. On days like April 18th and April 19th, it spilled into the attention of the broader society. One of theirs was affected, an innocent white woman. These youth were born into a boiling pot of poverty. Then crack became available in a poor and impoverished ghetto. Another good question: how did crack find its way into the black community in the first place?
It's about CIA involvement. What my story showed was that the cocaine that was being sold in those neighborhoods was coming from mainly one source. Of the CIA dealing drugs was something that the American mainstream press had never written about before. And that's why it prompted outrage.
The black community demands reparations for the war on drugs. The government involvement in the distribution of drugs for profit was a national phenomenon. Government officials, both approved by the Oval Office and independent police officers acting in their own interest, used the badge to shield them from criminal liability. America's dirty little secret. The CIA, the FBI, and local police enforcement throughout the country have perfected methods of how to entrap U.S. citizens. Law enforcement was instrumental in the process of dangerous and addictive drugs being smuggled and distributed in the United States.
That mixture created a status quo of aberrant and criminal behavior and a criminal culture. Some of these youth adopted the behavior. In their belief, it was their manifest destiny or a part of the life experience or a means of survival.
In 2001, 5,486 young people ages 10 to 24 were murdered, an average of 15 each day. In 2001, 79% of homicide victims ages 10 to 24 were killed with firearms. In a nationwide survey, 17% of students reported carrying a weapon.
Children had to fend for themselves because their parents were addicted. Left at home for days and sometimes weeks at a time, these youth learn how to survive on the street by adopting the dysfunctional behavior that they were exposed to. The drug was so addictive that it deteriorated the very moral fiber of some of its users. Poor addicts, having much less access to wealth and resources, engaged in more risky behavior as a means to access the drug. This dysfunctional behavior was prevailing throughout the poor, predominantly Black communities. It was in their very own homes. How did society expect youth exposed to such extreme levels of dysfunction to behave?
They must
Joe Biden,
be taken off
Black
the street.
citizens, survivors of the war on drugs, demand reparations for a government-approved declaration of war on U.S. citizens. Dollar for dollar, every dollar that the state and federal government invested in the war on drugs against Black citizens in prison funding, law enforcement funding, judicial funding, probation, etc., shall be paid out to the families of the survivors of the war on drugs.
They literally have not had an opportunity.
My name is G.S. Brooks of the At Risk Movement, and I approve this message.